Yo, check it out. Uncle Radio. We are live. We are on the air. We are in the house, and the house is packed. We got a lot to talk about today, so I want to jump right into it. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I kind of want to get y'all thoughts on. We had the impeachment, and of course, there was an acquittal, and we all knew it was going to be an acquittal. But I want to ask you guys: do you think the acquittal help or hurt us? And go.
I think it depends on. I think it depends on what you feel the purpose of the acquittal was for. Like you said, we knew what was going to happen. We knew, and like I said, we got 7 more on the right side than I thought. So that was a bonus. But if it was to me kind of, put things on the record, pit Republicans against each other, that type of political game, then it did what it was going to do. And I think that's why they didn't want to, waste time with the whole witnesses, deposing and all that, because it was going to be a waste of time. We knew we weren't going to get actual conviction. We did, and I'm saying we, but by we, I just mean Democrats. I got out of it. They, their whole deal was, wait until after so we can move people through, because they knew they were going to have issues with that. They had issues with that from the gate, the cabinet, so we can move people through. They got that, and didn't have the issues with the cabinet that they thought they were going to have, because he started with less cabinet members on his first day than anybody in recent history. So just those little things, I guess, could be considered political wins. I guess, of course, the ultimate goal would have been a conviction just because, but it seems like he might be having some civil and criminal issues, which, maybe you should have taken that conviction. He may have to come and testify, and all that stuff is no longer just like a Senate trial. That stuff, like some real, you're talking about a private citizen, you about to be treated like a private citizen now. So they got some political things out of it, I guess, as much as you can get some Republicans on your side for some things, I guess. So
I guess I'll go. Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Sheila. Ladies first.
No, I'm saying I'm with Chandra on it. We kind of all knew he wasn't going to get convicted, so why waste the strength and energy? Even though it was a quite clear-cut case, this little dangerous game that Republicans keep playing, where even myself, I go back and forth between, like, are these niggas just evil geniuses, or are they just really dumb people who are very lucky? And I'm leaning more towards evil genius. Because even if you look at the way that Mitch is playing it, it's like, remember before he was like, yeah, we got to get this dude impeached. But wait until after Biden gets elected. And then Biden got elected and we go forward with this. Then you vote not to convict him, but then come straight out right after the conviction and be like, yeah, that nigga guilty, bro. This is crazy. He's super guilty. I know I didn't just vote to convict him for what he's guilty of, but yeah, he's crazy. And then you even see the response from Trump, where he's mad, he's on a war path against Mitch. And the thing that stuck out to me is, where did all these like scholarly words all of a sudden come from with Trump? He's been a complete idiot and he's covfefe. Now he's coming with all these intelligent insults. Unsmiling was the least of it.
He didn't write that shit.
But who did? Like, well, why didn't he have this person writing all the rest of his tweets? Is my question.
Yeah. Well, because these ain't tweets.
Twitter was his like immediate
his
response.
phone.
You can
that's his phone.
Letters, but still, whoever wrote this letter, why wouldn't he have had them writing the stuff on Twitter instead of looking like a complete moron?
Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you know how dangerous it is when you have your phone in your hand and you're emotional. That's a dangerous game. Whether it's text, inbox, on a post, whatever. When that phone, that's why sometimes I put in a comment and then I won't hit send. I'll wait. Then I come back 10 minutes later. I'm like, no, I don't want to say that. Trump don't have that filter.
But it's just it is playing to our benefit. If we can just keep pressuring the Democrats, it looks like they're coming through with some pretty good work so far. I still want more in terms of tax reform and taxing these corporations, but that's another topic. But I think that this is perfect for Democrats if we can keep the infighting with the Republicans, because as much as they scream about wanting an independent party and we're gonna like talking about like rebranding themselves, if they have to choose between that and losing, they're going to roll with Trump at the end of the day. That's my firm opinion. So, but yeah, I hope they keep fighting. I hope they keep hating on each other. But every time we think that they are, it comes down to it and they all fall in line. So it's an interesting shit show to watch.
No, I feel, I mean, there's been 4 impeachments, right? 2 of them been Trump, which is kind of funny. But there's been four impeachments. No one has came close in the Senate to 67 votes. Actually, here's a crazy stat. Last week was the most the opposing side ever voted for a conviction in all the impeachments. So that's why I'm almost feel like they need to get rid of the shit because it's pointless. You're never going to reach that 67 mark. Now, the closest we had was when it was Richard Nixon. And that's because Republicans went up to Richard Nixon and said, hey, nigga, you might want to resign because you out of here. And Richard Nixon went ahead and resigned. But as far as the impeachment in itself, I think it had to be done. I mean, because if that shit is not impeachable, then what is? So for the House had to impeach him. But we knew what was going to happen in the Senate. And like Sheila said, you know, the reason why they didn't really want to deal with it because they knew that it was going to expose the division within the Republican Party. They didn't convict because they want someone else to do their dirty work for them. Look, they didn't got into bed with this dirtbag ass nigga, and they can't get rid of him. And they have to rely on somebody else. Like Mitch McConnell really came out and was begging, like, hey, you know he could be criminally prosecuted. I was like, damn. Like he really, because they know he they got into bed with the wrong person and he controls their party. And they really don't want to deal with him because guess what? A few years ago, they had the White House, they had the Senate in the House. Since Trump came, they done lost all of it. And they have to kind of stay together because they're only 33% of the population and the party is getting smaller. I posted some statistics the other day that 33,000, and I'm doing this by memory, 33,000 registered Republicans in California have left the party. 15,000 in California, 10,000 in Pennsylvania. So people are leaving. The party is getting smaller. And when you are already 33% of the population, you can't afford to. I mean, just think about the margin Biden won in Georgia, and you lose 10,000 people. That's a lot of people, and so they want somebody else to do their dirty work for them and get rid of Trump. I get the notion that a lot of folks said they should have called witnesses and put stuff on record and things like that. But I asked a couple of people. What was the most memorable testimony about last year's impeachment that you remember? They couldn't tell me shit. So it's like that just yeah, like the what people are gonna remember is what they saw. Like that's what
I keep saying. We were the witnesses.
The unique thing about this case is it's not a phone call or a picture they trying to put together so we can understand. We saw the shit that he was saying leading up. We saw the shit that he said on that day. We saw the shit that people were saying and doing. We saw the news for Pence. Like we saw all that shit. So no matter what historical content, people are going to remember what they saw that day. And folks had already drew the line whether you on either side, whether he guilty or innocent. I mean, when you have the jury helping the defense attorney. Because I don't know if I noticed, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz was helping Trump's defense because they was fucking up.
Defense.
I mean, you already know what it is. But I think I was happy to fucking get it over with, because why waste all this time? And the vote was going to end up exactly what it was Saturday. So whether it was going to be Saturday or 2 weeks from now or a month, it was going to be what it is. But I think what Democrats did benefit from that is they laid out a blueprint legally to present that case, because those attorneys was awesome. Those impeachment house managers was awesome. So they laid out the blueprint, and I don't know if y'all saw, but you have the female black chick in Fulton County district attorney. She's looking to criminal charges on Trump as well. And you already got the black chick up there in New York who's looking into the attorney general in New York, looking into criminal charges on him as well. And I think what the Democrats laid out was the blueprint of how to attack this case, because any reasonable jury would have saw that he was guilty. So, the whole process, like I said, I'm almost like, you just need to get rid of it, because there's no fucking point. Because I don't ever see any party ever, 17 members of the opposing side ever agreeing. And the closest we ever came is when with Richard Nixon, when Republicans told him before this shit even got that far, like, look, if you get impeached, we're going to convict you in the Senate, so go ahead and resign. So,
well, the interesting thing about even ratifying anything, because there's so many different things that have been sitting up there for ratification, is they need 2/3 vote. So they will need 2/3 to make it not 2/3. So
which is crazy, because that's never going to happen either. That's
never going to happen. There's so many things that are sitting there. The last things we're lucky for the amendments we did get. Now we just got to get the right people in Congress, but that would entail some Republicans that have. It seems like we get more Democrats that lean Republican than Republicans that lean Democrat. Those troublesome ones we have issues with.
But I think the biggest issue with that's normally it's in the Senate for some reason.
Yeah, the Senate.
I know people like to say, well, Democrats this, but in the House, since they had the majority of the House pass shit, like they get shit done. They didn't impeach Trump twice, and all voted on it with no problem. Like Nancy got her house under control. It's that Senate where things need to be fixed and changed. That.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'll get this towards Ron. But what do you say for the Republicans that got pumped up by this, and the Republican base that are excited by this? Like, yo, he got off with 2 impeachments. Like, they are really they was turned on about it. Like, I went to. Yeah, like they really he untouchable. They literally had a meme going around calling him the impeachment champion. Like almost every Trump supporter I know posted this same meme. It was him with a big ass silver trophy, and it said impeachment trophy and bring on the next one. Like, so they really this to me on that side, on the Republican side, it helped build his legend. It helped fire up his base. What do you say to that, Ron?
I think it was just a bad move, but we're used to Democrats making some bad moves, especially when they have no power. And what it shows is we're in a maze as American citizens, and the problems we have really just aren't going to get solved. No matter, I'm almost at the point, no matter how many people we have run, how many people we have win, this system is just sort of dictated to allow those in power, and be it, whatever term they want to go by, Republican now, Democrat, Dixiecrat back in the day, they pick and choose sides. Trump told us a while ago he was going to run as a Republican because they're stupid, and they followed him, and now they've uplifted him into the point where his power has superseded an entire party. And it's because no one wants to just address that fat ass hippopotamus elephant sitting in the fucking corner, which is white supremacy. And this system was built by white supremacists, so it's going to benefit white supremacists. And like us it's tough, but I think they empowered them.
No, I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
What's the Democrats? What's the mistake the Democrats made?
I just think when you know you're not going to win, you know, even if you have to tell the people we can't do it because we're just not going to win. People are going to say, oh, well, you got to do. We're not going to do it. We're going to do what's best for this country. We're going to work on COVID. We're going to move forward. He's out of office.
The issue with that, so you have a Democrat House, and you just had a president that just pretty much ordered an attack, and then Democrats not going to hold them accountable. Do you know what you'd be saying right now if that was to happen? Y'all would be saying the complete opposite.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't. Personally, I wouldn't.
I mean, but folks like, well,
oh, I know. Yes,
Democrats pretty much just let Trump get away with it and then impeach him, and they have a house. So
what are you going to do? Are you going to feed to the people who know less and don't understand the system? Or are you going to just do what's right?
I mean, folks fell for false messaging throughout Obama. So they would have fell for this too. Let's not pretend people wouldn't. Like, people are already, they blaming Democrats for him being not convicted, where all of them voted to convict him. So if Democrats would not have impeached him and let him get away with it after what he did, this shit would be completely chaos right now.
We're in chaos. We're in chaos right now. As far as I'm concerned, we're in chaos right now.
I agree that we're in chaos, Ron, but I want to remind you of one thing. We're Black people. We're magical. It may be hard, but we always find a way to make some impossible shit happen. It's inevitable. We're in a jacked up situation, but I don't want you to completely lose hope. Because you have to remember, if you had conversations with people 30 years ago, they would have argued you up and down that we never would have had a Black president.
Having a Black president and having a Black agenda are two different things. So,
but still, they would have argued you up and down that you never would have had a Black agenda. And here we are with one, right? Like, it's not going to be easy. I'm not going to try to talk the fluff.
It's impossible. I'm just going to say it. It's impossible.
No,
it's impossible. Under this Constitution, it's impossible. Now you're going to tell me we're going to change the Constitution. It's not. It's impossible.
It's not impossible because if it was impossible, we'll still be slaves living in Jim Crow.
That's a fallacy. That's a horrible analogy. That we still be slaves. They found it beneficial to not have us be slaves and have us work for them and put in taxes.
Trust me.
So they did not make us slaves because they thought we were great people.
Trust me, you're not going through what people went through 60 years ago. If it was impossible, you're not going through that.
Okay.
So things
it's impossible. It's impossible to get equality in the United States of America as a Black person.
People 50 years ago was educated and they knew how to work the system. That's the difference. The system. Now
you got to work a system to get equality. That means the system design it's ineffective. It's a problem.
Hey, Ron, check this out. People back then didn't need the DNC to tell them to come out and vote.
They didn't have the option to vote. So when you give somebody they never have, they're going to do it. If you've never ate pork and then I give you the opportunity to do it, even though it's wrong, you're going to do it.
50 years ago, didn't need to tell them, hey, if you vote this person in, your ass won't have no right.
Quincy, I wouldn't even get all upset, brother. I know you believe in the system. I get it. You believe in it. And you think it's going to work out. So I can't. I'm not going to argue that with you.
We go through the same bullshit every week. And folks, we continue to repeat ourselves every single week on the same thing. There's a way to do it. It's just Black people, a lot of folks haven't figured it out. And we just starting to figure out under Trump, because Trump forced Black folks to be more educated of how the system
did works. What y'all asked. Y'all said go out and vote for Biden. We did that. You said go out and vote for Warnock. They did that.
Ron,
we gave you everything you asked for. We gave you no. Let me finish now, Q. I gave you everything you asked for, and now you're saying it's still not enough. It's going to never be enough, and that's the trick bag. Is that it's never going to be enough.
2 months, Biden can't get rid of system.
I didn't say that. I didn't say all that. But the reality is that we're trying to fight for something that's broken, and until we are willing to admit that, we're going to be in it's ignorance. It's complete ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly.
We're fighting for something that's impossible. They don't give two shits. We're not human. They fight for dogs more than they fight for us. They fight for dogs, animals. And we got to ask to be treated like a human being. Hey, I try. I'm gonna try to remain cool.
Nobody's arguing that it's a broken system, but just because it's broken does not mean that we can't find a way to fix it.
What you're trying to do is
figuring out what.
So we're gonna put the fire out from inside the house. Let's do that instead of getting out the house. Put it out or let it burn and then fix it up.
All I'm saying is, as long as we educate ourselves, we have a motherfucking extinguisher.
We've been educated. We're highly educated. We're the highest educated. Black women are the highest educated and are treated like shit.
Hey, Ron,
Black women are the highest educated and are treated like shit.
Ron, you say we highly educated, but 2 weeks ago we were just talking about people didn't even know that it was a damn midterm.
So do you correlate political education as not having just general education, I mean, to get a job? I'm referring to education that gets people jobs to pay their bills. Everyone's not going to be as politically
how do you
savvy.
change a political system that you know that's broken if you're not voting?
I didn't say don't vote. What I said is that we're trying to fight. Like you're asking me, hey, Ron, what do you think about this? I think it's fucked up. That's it. That's what I think. And unless I'm saying what people want to hear, it's like, I'm like, no, it ain't that serious. I just don't believe in it. But I don't believe in a lot of shit and I still do it.
I can't say I don't understand why you feel that way. Because
I'm just tired of us keep talking in fucking circles. We're talking you vote this, we just need this state. Now we just need this. They're going to fucking keep being ahead of us every time because they created it. You can't build the game Monopoly and then expect the person that just start playing it to be able to win. Come on, y'all. I mean, come on. We've watched this story since the 60s.
We can change the game.
All right.
We can.
I don't think we are where we were in the 60s.
No, we're not.
Well, every correlation is, you're not a slave, so we moved up. We're not slaves no more, so you're good.
No, the correlation is that we're not where we were at every point. We're not where our parents were. Our parents are where our grandparents were. That's what the correlation is. And again, nobody is saying that it's incorrect to feel a certain way about it or another. But if we're on a show talking about politics and how to educate ourselves and become better so we can know the game and know the system, it's a long game. Nothing was changed overnight. Nothing, not slavery, not civil rights, none of that. So what our purpose has always been to bring the people knowledge. Yes, go vote. Yes, there are midterms. Vote for Warnock. Do all that stuff. Put ourselves in a better position. Nobody said there was a blanket solution because the problem hasn't been blanketed. Okay, it's been a month. And we're dissecting different issues and problems and solutions, and that's what we're on the show for. But I don't think it's productive to have a discussion where we're saying, if we're talking about politics and telling people this is how the system of politics works, it's not productive to say, oh well, it doesn't matter because blah blah blah. If our discussion is about politics, if we're having another discussion, then that's fine. I understand that. But if we're talking about the system of politics,
I understand that, Shan.
If we're talking about the system of politics, then I think let's make sure we are correct on that. But not to say you're not. I'm just not
comfortable lying to people. I'm not comfortable lying to people. I mean it fucking irks me to keep just lying to people.
Well, if it's going to get better, honestly,
they're going to give us $15 an hour.
But Ron, again, if it's something that you're not comfortable discussing, because that's the path of discussion that we've taken on this show, then I understand that as well. That's your prerogative. That's definitely your prerogative. And there are people who obviously agree with you, but we've chosen this platform to discuss the politics of what's going on in the country. So we have to make a decision, on is that what we're going to do? Because nobody's opinion is wrong. You know what I mean? So.
And with that said, Dame, we fucked. So we better start stacking our money. They're doing what we can for ourselves because they ain't coming for us. I don't care who's in the office. Just do for so we got to do for each other. We got to support each other. We got to spend with each other. It got to be completely about us. Excuse me, about us. And through that love and that brethrenship, I think we can at least survive.
Why can't we have both?
Yeah, good luck. We're in America. You probably can
change a system in a month that's been established for 400 years, then it's a failure.
No, I said it took 800 years to Q and Q, and I've always stated that.
We've been in years, you know, whatever it is, despite executive orders that you at first said didn't exist, that turned out to exist regarding Black people and their issues, despite all that has occurred in a month, since they didn't just completely overturn the system within a month, then it's a failure.
If that's your opinion, Q, of me,
that's what you just said.
That ain't what I said.
Yeah,
what I said is it's fucking bullshit.
That's not what he said, but
again,
I'll
it'll always be twisted like some bullshit. Again, you believe in the system. I don't. We're both in it. So we got to find a way to get right in that middle and make it work for us.
And for me, what I'm seeing, and which was supposed to be our third point, but I guess we can get to it now, is we talked about the system. We talked about voting. We talked about getting the house. We talked about doing all of these things. And even with all that happening and being said, we still see the GOP having way more power than they should have and having way more power than they supposed to when they don't have the executive branch, the House, and the Senate. And
my question is, because we haven't really seen anything in the way of like laws. We've seen their backdoor, what they're trying to do, each side, what they're trying to do for the COVID relief bill. That's the main thing. But what exactly are they doing on like a powerful level that has
they still have
hindered?
They're still doing their same obstructionist shit that I thought they wasn't going to be able to do. Like they still are stopping his confirmations for his cabinet. They are still have crazy negotiating power even with this COVID bill when they have. You said what?
They just finishing up. They about to pass that next week.
Yeah, but look how long it took to pass because of the stuff going on behind, because of the stuff that Mitch McConnell said he wasn't comfortable with doing. Like there are literally conversations, and we can go through the timeline.
But to me, I think until we kind of see, because that's what happens when they're doing bills. And again, this is from me reading what when President Obama, when he was talking about his economic relief bill, his main problem was two Democrats because they wanted some things to take back to their constituents. So he said 90% of the bill made it in the way he wanted it. So I don't know if it's necessarily, the GOP coming out powerful or if everybody is using their negotiation tactics to get what they want. I don't know.
This is the normal process of a bill, despite there was an impeachment hearing in the middle of it. So maybe folks are just really starting to pay attention to politics to see how shit is done and passed, but nothing unusual have happened when I don't know if folks really remember how long it took for Obamacare to get passed. That shit didn't get passed in a week. But but the COVID relief bill is going to the House next week. Like I said, Nancy Pelosi, since she's been the Speaker of the House, everything has passed through the House. It's been the Senate that's a problem. Like Chandra said, when you have the difference is when you have Democrats, because it's not the Republican Party, it's the fact that you got 2 or 3 Democrats that's not on that's not falling in line. You got to do a little bit more negotiation, but it's not because, like I said, everything. Even when we was debating about the Ice Cube stuff, and we were saying, well, this stuff already has passed in the House. We was talking about the House Democrats who had already passed that stuff.
No,
so
yeah,
and Mitch McConnell wouldn't even bring that shit up in the Senate. The issue is you actually have 2 or 3 Democrats that's making it a little bit more complicated to get through because they're not really Democrats. I mean,
so maybe that's the answer to your question. Maybe that's the answer to your question, Hank. We got some undercover. Some undercover.
That's my point. That's my point. My point is, wait, let me finish. My point is because we talking about the system, and I think this is more what Ron is talking about, right? Because we talking about the system, and I feel like we've done everything that the system have asked of us. We've done everything that the system is said to do in order to get the things passed that you needed. We got the presidency, you got the House, and you got the Senate. And even with that, now you have, like you said, you had them 2 or 3 undercover Demopublicans or whatever the fuck you want to call them. And just those 3 people can go against the will of 74 million people. That's a fucking problem to me.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, if I hate to bring this up because it really, I keep bringing it up because it really did make me understand what they were doing. Ultimately, they start doing some behind closed door stuff, and President Obama didn't even say what he had to give those 2 Democrats in order to get them along, but they caucus. They talk to each other. Again, like Quinn said, I think it's more of us watching the system, but that's another thing too. They've been putting out who votes on what bills. We know those 7 senators that voted to convict. They've been putting, these are the people in California that voted to that didn't vote to impeach Trump. All that stuff is, even as a voter, that stuff that I wasn't paying attention to when I was 18, 24, 26, you know what I mean? So I think a combination of we're all more like hyper focused, and we all know, because I'm sure if some Democrats knew, hey, these over here, these suckers over here, they're not real Democrats, then what do y'all do over there in Arizona? Figure out, like Sheila always talking about.
We didn't know that before, Shan. Sorry for cutting in. We didn't know that before the election, Shan, that they were not.
I'm saying I didn't personally. Some people might have, but I personally didn't.
I mentioned it on our first show back that Joe Manchin and those 2 people in Arizona was going to be a problem. So I mean, the thing is, are the people that we elected doing what they're supposed to do with those folks? Now, was it last week, 2 weeks ago? Because Joe Manchin is from West Virginia, and Kamala Harris went into West Virginia, did an interview, and put pressure on him because she talked to his constituents, and he got pissed off about it. We didn't elect Joe Manchin, but we did elect Kamala Harris. Now, is she doing what she's supposed to be doing to push the agenda forward by putting pressure on him? And the answer is yes. Did Joe Biden get on the phone with Joe Manchin and tell him, hey, we can't fall for the same shit that we felt under Obama administration? Joe Manchin said this himself on CNN, that Biden called him and said, hey, we cannot fall for what we felt for under Obama. This was Joe Manchin words. So the question is, yeah, we have people who not falling into place, but are the people that we elected saying something to them and putting the appropriate pressure on them to get shit done? And the answer has been so far as yes. There's another coalition called Poor People's Campaign. They're also in West Virginia. So you have people on the ground putting pressure on Joe Manchin because for some reason, every time something come up, he got a fucking issue with it. Whether it's getting rid of the filibuster, whether it's giving people checks, or now it's the minimum wage. He always got an issue with something. And the question is, are the people that we elected, are they going to Joe Manchin and say, hey, you need to get your shit together? Okay, cool. You're not gonna listen to us. We're gonna go in your state and we're gonna talk to your constituents to put pressure on you to get shit done.
Yeah, because ultimately,
Kamala also went to Arizona as well. So all we can ask for are the people that we elected doing what they're supposed to do when you have folks like this. And so far, the answer is yes.
All right. So look, this is what gives me pause about even that, right? So you got somebody like Joe Manchin, the 2 Arizona senators who won't even pass on something as non-progressive as giving people fucking relief. What do you think is going to happen when you are asking those same people to do things against systemic racism? Like, if we can't even get them to do the basic shit of passing shit for every American just to survive, all these things that Kamala and Biden have on the table to stop and help with systemic racism, what do you this is the impeachments I'm talking about are going to be a problem, because if they can't get them on board for those things, how you think they're going to get them on board for those other things that's going to matter to us?
Well, I think
these are the things I'm seeing down the line.
That's where I think the political capital comes in. You know what I mean? They do you give me this, I give you this, we get this passed, blah 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 blah. That's where I think that comes in. Like we're seeing a lot of the behind the scenes that we wouldn't normally see.
Well, when also
because ultimately they have to caucus. There's consequences for not caucusing with your your party. And again, ultimately, they have the majority. So yeah, it's a concern, but I think it's too early to kind of see, because they know their holdouts are probably, so what can I get for my constituents? What can I get for Arizona? What can I, if that's what they're doing, because they can also have people put pressure on them. That's why their names are out there. Y'all need to talk to Joe Manchin. Tell him what's up. His people. You want to get elected? You need to talk to him. You know what I mean?
But also, I think we under this false something that we vote people in and that's it.
I don't think so. No.
You vote people in, and then that's when the work will start, because you got to apply pressure on folks. Like
you mean in terms of the Black community?
Period. Whoever you vote for. Well, except Republicans, but definitely on the Democrat side, because you have to make sure
that's Black people, because Asian people still put pressure on them to get what they want.
Yeah,
because we're the ones
because you have. I mean, because the negotiation that you got to think about it. When JFK got elected, JFK didn't want to pass the Civil Rights Bill in his first term, because he felt like, hey, if I pass the Civil Rights Bill in my first term, it won't be a second term. Let me wait until the second term. And Dr. King and them was upon pressure, like, if you don't do it now, you might not even win a second term anyway, and then this shit might not ever happen. Case in point, something I found out this past week. It was a lot of Democrats that turned down Obama criminal justice reform bill because they felt like they was going to get a better deal when Hillary came in. Taking it for granted, thinking that Hillary was going to be just win, and guess what? That shit never happened. So that's why Dr. King was putting pressure on JFK throughout his first term. Like, look, we trying to get this shit done, and JFK was like, no, because if I pass it now, JFK was playing politics. He said, if I pass the civil rights in my first term, I'm never going to get to it. Well, they continue to apply pressure because when Lyndon Johnson took over, they didn't give up the fight. They continued like, okay, cool. You said it's echo?
Mute. One of y'all got to mute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because when Lyndon Johnson took over, they continued their fight. They continued to put pressure on that party that they were voting for. And then it finally passed in 1964. And then they put more pressure. They continue to pressure. The Voting Rights Act passed in 1965. So it's an ongoing process.
How do you fight in politics, Q? What do you fight with?
Let
me ask that. Fight with money, right?
You fight with money, but
and especially now, you fight with money.
You fight with money, but you find your leverage, because what happened in 2016? The Democrat Party found out that if Black people don't vote, you don't win. So for the first time in our country history, you had shit like reparations and the Black agenda a part of debates. Why? Because they found out in 2016, when we don't vote, you don't win. So in the end, money or not, but they find out that although we're 13% of the population, you need this 13%. So that's what Lyndon Johnson found out, that look, if Democrats want to win back then, we need to use our big, because at the time we was the biggest minority group. So that's why Democrats keyed in on Black folks back then, because we was the biggest minority group. And in the end, everybody want to win. So Democrats want to win, and that's why when Black folks didn't turn out in 2016, now you have the first day of a presidency, a president writing an executive order that want to address systemic racism. So the power, to me, the power is in our vote. That and we showed that. We showed that this election, and I don't know if Dan want to get into it. That's why I always kind of had this theory, and Charles Blow kind of put some flavor more to it about just pretty much going to hijack certain states as black folks, because it's already happening indirectly in Georgia
and Arizona.
And what Charles Blow was saying is that the hippies, he brought up how the hippies in 1972 up there in Northeast, they all migrated to Vermont because Vermont was notorious a conservative state. But the hippies felt like if they all migrate there, they could take over the governorship, the state legislation, and then what that has turned into is people like Bernie Sanders. Now also
that's what white people can do when they put their minds together and they have a goal. When black people do it, like we all can't afford to move to a state. I'm just using that as an example.
Well, Ron, we're doing it. Georgia. The last
I got Georgia. And you guys told us we get Georgia. We got it. Y'all told us if we get Georgia,
but still,
you have to understand they don't waste resources on stuff that doesn't bring any fruition.
They're using us. The Democrats are using us.
They are still fighting to suppress our vote. Should let you know that our vote still matters. That is still what we have to bank on. The difference is in the past that we've been programmed to think like you feel right now. Oh, none of this involves me anyway. It don't matter. That's why we have
program. That's the reality of it.
Minority group feels like that, but us. And that's
why though? Because no other minority group has our history, though. No other minority group has our history.
That's why we further behind in the game, with even trying to start to come together. A lot of us didn't, myself included, didn't even understand the full extent of how this electoral college process works until we had to walk through this bullshit with Trump.
Now that you understand it,
42 years old.
But now that you understand it, how do you feel about it?
Now that I understand that that's something that we need to fight against to get rid of.
So it's bullshit, right?
Electoral college, that's something that we need to find a way to fight against and get rid of it.
I'll tell you this about Georgia. Not only Georgia is Georgia is number 4 on as percentage wise as the biggest black population. They got 2 senators. One came from Dr. King Church. The other one was mentored by John Lewis. Next year, they're most likely to get their first black governor. Because that's where I think for black folks, we have to change is be more, and that's why I say use the blueprint that the hippies use on Vermont, because in Georgia, it already shown you got 2 representatives that most likely wouldn't represent southern states. You got a Jewish dude that was mentored by John Lewis and a black man out of Dr. King Church representing their state in the Senate
and losing.
How they losing? I think they win.
I'm just saying we had one vote. We lost the first one
because next year because they're not losing, they winning, because next year Next year, they getting ready to get.
Next year, it's going to be like, y'all niggas come back out, vote again, come do it again.
Well, Stacey Abrams needs to be voted for.
I agree.
Yes,
but what is it going to do when she get there? Is it going to change Mitch McConnell? Is it going to change how these other white people feel?
Stacey Abrams have nothing to do with Mitch McConnell. She has something.
She's going to be there pissed off at him just like everybody else.
No, that's a governor.
Yeah,
she's running for governor.
My mistake.
She dictates what goes on in that state.
In that state, right?
And because even if you look at a federal level, you talk about mass incarceration. The federal prison is only 8% of our prison population. The mass incarceration is in the states. It's in the state prison. So we need to be changing the state laws that we live in. And like I said, the biggest mass incarceration in states, let's see here. DC is not a state. We're 40% of DC. We're 38% of Mississippi. we're 33% of Georgia, 33%.
This the prison population you're talking about, or what is this?
No. I'm talking about in general.
The population. The population.
But this is where the prison population is the most biggest, and most of these states are run by Republicans.
Right, because it's the modern day slavery.
And you
though.
think
Let's
getting
not
Democrats to run that
Like when
country,
Trump
we're not
was
going to have
talking
those
about
prisons?
bringing jobs back.
I think getting people like Stacey Abrams elected would change it
In that state. But do
Back
you
to
think
California, he gets done in China.
over the boards in the South, do you think having Democrats be all governed, all the South states are Democrats now? Will that change the prison population?
Look, you got a lot of people with a D by their name with different theories. But I think if you get the right people like Stacey Abrams to run your state, I bet you
Georgia will be great. Georgia will be doing well.
I bet you that voter suppression shit stopped down there.
Yep.
Well, they should use the 14th Amendment. We have a bullet to shoot with that. You suppress our votes, we can take your representation.
Well, you know what? Check out this theory since I'm gonna just throw this out there and I'm gonna just get to my point. Like Charles Blow said. Charles Blow said because there's a reason why they didn't want black people to vote. Obviously, black folks, not only we was the biggest minority group, but we was overwhelmingly the biggest population in the South for obvious reasons, because that's where all the slaves were. And basically, he said if things were like they were, and he said not all, but the majority, because I just named Mississippi, Georgia, Louisiana, Maryland, South Carolina, Alabama. That's pretty much outside of DC, and they're outside of DC. Those are pretty much southern states that the majority of black people live. What he said was, if you could get at least 5 or 6 of those states, you know how many Senate seats you control? You control between 12 to 14 Senate seats. Can't shit get done without you. Do you know how many Electoral College votes you control? You would control more Electoral College votes if you have those states than California and New York combined. So you ask me, how do we change? It's about understanding your leverage, getting the right people in, because with those places I just named, that's where the majority of black people live, but we're not represented there.
What you're not mentioning is that's where the poorest black people live. So let's take into account of that.
But that's
they're just struggling to survive.
But it doesn't mean that
that's why I said money is the first thing we need to address.
Money without education won't be nothing.
Stacey Abrams changed Georgia without money.
Can we just admit that Georgia is where the wealthiest black people live? Let's stick to Mississippi and all those other states we're talking about that are poor. Georgia's the wealthiest of all those that the majority population is black.
DC,
so that's the anomaly. That's the outlier. Let's get back to
where then us in terms of black wealth.
DC is not a state, though. I mean,
the district of well, then it's us. Georgia don't have more wealthy black people than us.
You talking about California? Yeah. Shit, I think so. I think they do.
For Georgia style, because California is we only 7% here.
Right. Yeah.
We're 34. We're 34th in population.
You're talking about in terms of cost of living or just straight wealth?
What you have in your damn pocket.
But check this out. You think all those people in Georgia had money?
We keep saying Georgia, but again, no, they didn't. But there were people there with money that got buses to help send people to go vote. So they need resources to do all these
things. Because to get the right people in to change what's going on in that state.
Let's get our money right. Let's send that money to the South and let's get them to vote. That's how you do it.
There's no reason why what happened in Georgia can't happen in Mississippi or Alabama. The only, like Sheila said, the only thing those people are missing out is being educated on. You get the right people in there, they could change your situation. Because you have the problem is they got them thinking that they're hopeless despite being 35% of the population.
I mean, if I've lived 80 years under this system, I'd probably feel as hopeless. I'm just saying, if I was living in those conditions.
But it's not
difficult, but it's not hopeless.
And I understand how you guys feel.
Well, what I think is interesting is if you listen to what you guys are both saying, even with that portion of the plan, okay, so Quincy's saying, hey, let's get all these people in a certain area. Ron is saying, let's get our money up so we can help people do this and get down there. It's just the same solution. It's a different path to a solution to the same problem. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. But
but my solution though, Shannon, is not really a solution because we don't. What leads to my point, we don't have the money. Like we just don't have it to compete.
Your solution, your whole thing, you've been saying money. Quincy's been saying education. I mean, there's nothing wrong with combining the two if we.
Yeah, I would say let me push back on that a little bit, Ron. We don't have the wealth, but we do have the money to make these changes, and I'll tell you why. One of the biggest reasons that people like Stacey Abrams were able to do what they did, the reasons that Barack Obama was able to do, they were mostly funded by small donors. They were mostly funded by us, $5, $10 here, $20 there, and that's how he was able to be somebody we had never heard of and going to president. So that's the only reason I would push back on that, because we don't have the wealth. I agree with you there, but I think we do have the money we have enough money and enough people to pool together to put our resources, just kind of like we did for Ann in West Virginia, how she talked about she got a whole bunch of donations after coming on the show. She got a whole bunch of donations from California, a place she doesn't even represent, that helped her in her campaign. I think if we continue,
so people find out what to do, where the need was, and then that's where we attack. And eventually we would have attacked wherever if that's what we're gonna do. But unification is always, is gonna always be a struggle. But yeah, Dane, that's definitely a good example with Ann, because we were donating to her so she can do stuff out there. We don't even know nothing about the Commonwealth over there, but she's in. And based on what she said, we feel like she's going to do something good for her community where she's at. And then we got to pick somebody else and do the same thing. Like Sheila always says, groom them, get them, and support them from here and get somebody else. Because eventually that map is going to be what we want it to look like.
Like Portia said, she said, don't we have the highest buying power? Which is true. We had, again, without having the most wealth in this country, Black people have the most buying and spending power. But it's just how
that's not really a good thing to say.
Especially because we have the most debt.
We need if we get better educated,
power. We would.
Like saying we have the most spending power. It's just a reflection of what we do.
No. I'm talking about as consumers. We have the most spending power as consumers. I'm not talking about debt.
I think that's something that we say. I don't know.
No, it's like $4 trillion. That ain't just something.
Yeah. So how do we spend more and we have less? But just think about that. How do we spend more if we actually have
less? Because we spend it and don't keep it or invest it properly.
To your point, Ron. To your point, we spend it, but we are the only cultural group that the money doesn't stay within our circles. Like I forgot the stat, but like
I know those stats. Yeah, like 17 times. Yeah, I know those.
Hands like 19 times or something in the Jewish community
inside their own. We're the only ones who all of our dollars come in, because you got to think about the workforce we have, the amount of us that are frontline workers, the Walmart workers, the Target workers. We have a huge workforce, but because Black people like to look good and like to look like we're living lavish, we spend lavishly.
If you have 2.6% of the wealth, how do you spend more? I just want to know. With 2.6%, because that doesn't exclude them buying property, buying, corporations, so they're still spending too. So how do we outperform them? Or is that only in retail that they're referring to that we spend the most? Because I just, when I hear that, every time I hear that, I kind of like, the numbers just don't add up for that.
Well, no, I think
but if you're saying just in retail,
because of money being spent and consuming like a lot of material goods, and not necessarily the investment.
But there's more of
properties and rental properties. There's more of them, but they also leave a lot of that wealth for the generations behind them. They're not all blowing through it. Like I've seen, I've especially even when I sold cars, that was my biggest lesson with that. I'm sitting next to dudes who's pulling in checks that's $20,000 a month, $15,000 a month, and they sit at the desk with their cheese sandwich at lunch. Their wife still packing their lunch. Like they still don't spend money. They don't spend a bunch of money on clothes. They wouldn't spend a bunch of money on their lunch. My ass, once I started balling, I'm eating lobster and salmon, but I'm spending 25, $30, and they like, man, you're spending a lot of money. That was something that made me pay attention to it. We have a totally different mindset than they do, and in terms of like the way that they are taught to handle their money, where a lot of times as soon as we get the money, we got to show everybody that we have it, and you got the Mercedes, and they'll get the
But they're
Mercedes,
buying Sheila,
but
they buy
they
more of
will
that
buy
shit
the
than we do.
Mercedes under their business's name, where that lease payment is a corporate tax write-off that we don't even understand. We trying to keep up with them, and we paying it out of our pocket. Their corporation is paying for it, and they're getting a tax deduction for it, and the government is paying for it. That's the difference.
The biggest,
But not all of them do that, Sheila.
A
It's
lot
damn near
more do
impossible
it
for
than you think.
49% of the population to spend less than
You got
15%
some
of the
of them that
population.
start LLCs in their kids'
That's
name at the age of
150 million
14.
people. That's 150 million people compared to about 70 million people.
Okay.
We don't invest in one another like everyone else do.
You ask some of these white women what they spend on their hair, and you ask some of these hood chicks, just hair. We're not going to even talk about clothing and stuff like that. You ask a bunch of these hood chicks who get weaves and stuff like that, what they spend on their hair, and you ask a white woman what they spend on their hair. Just hair, nothing else. You'll see.
I don't think we understand finance when we do these numbers. I don't think, and that's not no aspersions to anyone, not to anyone, but it's hard to say that when you have 150 million people who have to eat, who have to do everything we have to do, and you're saying, okay, now 15 million
athletes, more blacks, and
which
2.6%
of the wealth. So when you break it down, we have 2.6% of this country's wealth.
Well, I would say that probably and I think Dame already hinted to this, that the biggest difference between us and other people that we don't invest in ourselves. Our money go out and don't come back in. And that I think
if they stop making money for 200 years, we wouldn't catch them. If they just stop, we just stop making.
It's not so much about catching them more than just making our situation better by investing more into ourselves. No. Q, I'm gonna stop you there. We need 13% of the wealth, especially as slaves. We need at least from 12. We need at least, if we're 13% of the population, we deserve 13% of that wealth. Now, how you get there, that's to be discussed. But to say we just need to no. This is systemically created to be this way. But just to go back on Chandra's point, she said something very key about grooming. Was it Sheila or Chandra said something about grooming people to take office? And I think that's why I use Georgia as an example with that, because like I said, you have two people that was groomed by John Lewis, who is now in the Senate. And I think what that state is doing and what Stacey Abrams and the rest of them are doing, they setting it up. You about to have those two, you about to have a governor in her that's for black people. And I think if other states with the same type of population follow that blueprint, I don't see why situations can't get better in DC, because like I said, once you look, we talking about the two senators that can make a difference. But I just named 5 states. That's 10 senators.
Do you think we can do that in Mississippi? Like, do you think Mississippi will put up with the Stacey Abrams, having watched what happened in Georgia? Or do you think seriously?
Yes. Yeah, they just need to be educated. Okay, I'll give you a prime example. You remember I forgot why the guy in Alabama forever, he lost his seat. And folks in Alabama came out in waves to vote it in. They voted in, was it Doug Jones?
Doug Jones.
They voted in Doug Jones, who actually prosecuted the KKK members that killed the girls in the Alabama church bombing in the 1960s. Black people came out in waves. Doug Jones got elected in Alabama. See,
who's there now? Is that still a Democrat?
No, he ended up losing this past election.
That's the point. So like, we can win once, but to get consistency, you need money.
That's the plan. But I think what Stacey Abrams did, Stacey Abrams could have just said, fuck it, I lost. It was unfair. But what they did is they woke up a giant. She said, you know what? I'm going to go around, I'm going to educate people, and I'm going to register as many of our people as possible. I'm gonna hit up the counties. Was it DeKalb County?
Yep,
DeKalb County.
DeKalb County. I'm gonna hit up the biggest counties with the black populations, educate them on the system, and get them to register to vote. While we on in January, when those numbers was coming in, and we saw DeKalb County didn't come in yet, and those other counties, and then them numbers dropped. That was pretty much the difference, because she set out a plan. Okay, we're gonna get these two in, and then next year I'm running for governor. And now I think between November and January, they said she registered over 100,000 people.
And so now she just left.
I just think Georgia's more progressive. I mean, as a racist state can be, you know. But you're talking Mississippi. You're talking about Mississippi
because people move back there.
And that's my point. They're more progressive, whereas Mississippi's not like that. People are not moving back to Mississippi.
But the people are already there in Mississippi in 92. In 92,
they just not voting. They already there.
In 92,
is that the stat that we're not voting in those states?
In Mississippi, no.
The turnout is poor in those states after this election. The turnout is poor.
I want to address this point from Jim. What up, Jim? He said we've been on equal economic footing for 50 years. I have to disagree here. I don't think we've ever been on equal economic footing in this country, Jim. I just wanted to address that because I saw that was up. But we have never been on equal economic footing in this country. We still aren't right now today.
It never will be.
No. So in 92, and that was the last time a Democrat won Georgia. That was Bill Clinton. It was 20% black people in 92. What I say it was now? 33. They are now number 4 on the biggest black population now. Because you remember, a lot of people left Georgia in the 90s and came west, went north. And since the 2000s, a lot of people have moved back. So now they back up to 33.9%. Stacey Abrams went out of her way to make sure that those people was educated and registered. And that's what has turned that state. Those numbers are already there. Mississippi is number 3. They damn near 40% black people in Mississippi. It's just a matter of somebody.
But they be suppressing them though.
Yeah,
like you got a bunch of black people, but Mississippi go way out with suppressing the black vote. That's why you don't have all the people voting there.
You know what? You got Jerry Chambers. He fit to do it in Louisiana, and that was the black dude that we saw that was checking the lady at the school board. You remember?
I remember him going off. Yeah.
Well, now he's running for Congress. He's running for Cedric Richmond's seat down there in Louisiana. Cedric Richmond is now a part of Biden's
he's dope.
Administration. So Jerry Chambers is now he's down there with Sean King, a group of them. They're doing the same thing that Stacey Abrams was doing in Georgia, and it starts like that. And Louisiana is number 5 on the list, 33.4% of black people. So I just think I just think when you have people, and it's true, when you have poor black people, especially in those areas where they feel like they have no hope, you got a generation of suppression, that it takes someone to show them, look, here's a plan, and this is how we could change things for you. And I'm part of the change. That's why I think Gary Chambers is gonna win that seat. But he's just not down there running. He's making sure that people are educated about what he's running for, the impact he can have, and also and making sure that people are registered. So I think it can happen. I just think that one thing black folks kind of have to struggle with is all of us getting on the same page and organizing the plan and executing it. We have the ideas, but it's about executing with a plan. And
Mississippi had a record turnout this year.
That still doesn't mean that everybody voted who needed to vote. That just means more people voted than they did before.
I'm just saying.
We need more.
Part of that record are more black people.
Yeah.
It's not just white people. There's more black people voting.
Yeah, well, you know what? A lot of black people vote for Stacey Abrams when she lost. And then she made sure more black people was registered. You're not
But
gonna.
that's the unique situation, though, Q, is that you have to have that happen in Mississippi, where you have someone run, they kind of get ripped off, lose. They use that momentum to create like that. That was like a perfect storm what Stacey Abrams had.
I've seen people already having these conversations because of what she's doing, because of what she did. That's why Gary Chambers is doing what he's doing in Louisiana, because of what he saw her do. So it's not like other people cannot do the same thing. I just think that if
will that change things though, is if we get those, and then because
you don't think Stacey Abrams would change the state of Georgia if she was a governor?
Oh, she will change. I'm referring to us as a whole. So anytime I speak, it is never about one state. I'm speaking about us as a whole, not me. It's about us.
I think what I'm trying to get to is if you get more Warnock and Ossoff in the Senate.
Warnock said he don't even want to run no more.
Well, right?
He's done after this.
I didn't hear him say it. He said that? I didn't hear him say that.
What I heard him say is that he ran because he felt it was his duty, but he doesn't think he's a politician and doesn't see himself running the next term.
Yeah, because I know Purdue came out. That's the guy that Ossoff came out and beat. Said he's going to run against Warnock. I know he announced that this past week. But if that's the case, you find somebody else. And
that's all I'm saying. I just think it's going to always be that answer right there. Find somebody else, and that's going to be us constantly spending years and years and years because it's find somebody else. Let's just keep trying. Find somebody else.
I think
eventually it's going to be the right person.
Yeah,
or eventually it's just not going to happen, and we just going to eventually bump. You know what? Let's do something else.
Yeah, let me answer this too. 50 years ago, in the 1970s, we were past the civil rights, and now in the presence of enlightenment, Civil Rights Act was passed in '64, and again in '68. Yeah, it was passed, but again, Jim, we so let's take your year that you're using. In the 1970s, our parents and grandparents were still being denied loans. A lot of us were still being denied college education back then. So it was I don't know. I don't.
Not true.
Yeah,
our numbers show that we have now. Our numbers have stayed the same.
We were given.
Yeah, our median income has not changed since the '60s, actually, Jim. So I mean, I'm gonna send you something on that because I actually have that in my little save notes. Yeah, so I'm gonna send you something on that, Jim.
Yeah. But also, and I think, and to me, this is a good discussion because I think this is the discussion about what has to happen to be solution based and solution oriented. Because to Ron's point, where he said, like, all right, now you get those senators in, which I do think it would be way different if we had a real majority and not a 50-50 split. Let's start there. If we had a real Senate majority and not a 50, and the thing is, you got a 50-50 split with some people who don't really fuck with Democrats as well. You know what I mean? So even on top of the regular bullshit, now you have that. But so I do think if you have more Stacey Abrams, because I'm not going to say more Democrats, if you have more Stacey Abrams and Chambers, then I do think there will be more change against systemic racism. Actually, if you have more of those people, the sister who was on the Hill doing the impeachment, Plachette,
she was good.
Like I think if you have more people like them, if you have more people like what's the girl AOC, Ilhan Omar, like I do think if you have, because they are the ones who have been actually bringing those issues to the forefront. But again, like you said, Mitch McConnell been letting everything die. But if you have more people in the Senate where you can't let that shit die, and you really have people who aren't the old school Democrats, who aren't the Nancy Pelosi's, who are really putting that pressure on and pushing that issue, Ron, I do think there can be change. But I think it has to be specifically, I guess I'm about to coin a new phrase, a Stacey Abrams Democrat. You know what I mean? Like, I think it has to be specifically Stacey Abrams Democrats, the Democrats like was it Trayvon Martin's mom? You know what I mean? Like people who are specifically there for Black civil rights.
Well, that's about 2% of the Democrats. So we can say let's target 2099. You know,
Well, I think his mom just ran for city council.
Yeah, Mike Brown's mom ran for city. So what I'm saying, and I agree.
That got killed in Georgia. For playing the music.
Jordan, the kid who got killed in Georgia. Yeah, Jordan.
His mom was selected. She's part of the House of Representatives.
Yeah, she's in the House of Representatives now. So you know for a fact she's gonna go in with a black civil agenda, right? And so I feel like if you get more of those, and it don't have to be a ton, Ron. Like you just have to get them not only to be in there, but you also have to get them kind of like how AOC is to become one of the new voices of the party too, because I think that's a big difference.
I'll bring some light onto your point, and me and Chandra had this discussion today. So right now, the House has a 4-seat advantage, right? Majority Democrats.
Technically.
Yeah, no, like in the House, they pretty solid in the House.
Okay.
But it's the Senate where you got the iffy vote.
Well, we got
to check this out. How many? So they constantly need at least, they can't lose 5 people, right? Because they have a 4-seat advantage, right? How many folks you think are in a congressional Black Caucus?
I don't know.
Let's take a guess.
Out of how many?
Well, how many Congress members is it? I mean, it's about 222 Democrats. How many?
Like 12?
You said 12? How many you got?
I like 24.
I said the same number. It's actually 51.
Oh.
So you telling me?
So what the fuck they doing then?
Exactly. So you telling me? So basically, nothing can pass without them. Nothing can pass without them. Not a goddamn thing can pass without them. Why are they not holding? Why are they not pulling more of their power? Because nothing could pass without them. There's nothing in the House could pass without them.
So that's what we need to pressure. These niggas is not showing up for work.
Well, you know what? We always talk about the crime bill, and people don't like when I say this.
They was behind it. Right.
The crime bill doesn't pass without them.
Right. I do know that.
The crime bill doesn't pass without them. And not all of them voted for it. Maxine didn't vote for it. A couple of them didn't even vote for it. And it's still, but they still needed.
We're in the middle of the crack epidemic. Everybody, they was trying to do something.
I mean, of course, I get
trying to do something.
I get the agenda, but you have 51 members of
I know
Black Caucus in the House. Why are they not using? Because can't nothing pass. Do you know if all 51 of them go to NASA and say, "Hey, if you don't put this in the bill, if you don't put this, if you don't add that, we ain't voting on that shit," they can't get it done. That's the type of shit I'm talking about.
Wow.
50.
Yeah, get acquainted with who's there. That's what we need to replace. What the fuck?
Rigged system.
51. So that's why when Dane makes the point, you get more Stacey Abrams in there. They say if you got 10 Stacey Abrams, that would make a difference.
We don't even know 10. We know 2 so far.
No, it's more because a lot of people don't know this, but I know Stacey Abrams get a lot of credit deservedly as she should for what she did in Georgia. But that she has a whole coalition behind her. There's like 15 more Black women that were behind her with that who did the same work.
Oh, okay. And they're gonna run.
Give props
and
to
they're running for office.
Do interviews and stuff like
that.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to run. Some of them going to keep doing the work that she's doing. And like Quincy says, some of them are going to go to other states and run this playbook, so they don't have to lose first to run the playbook. I think they figured out we had this playbook, and now we can take this playbook from state to state and try to do some of the same things Stacey did in other places and run our people in other places. So it's not just her. There's like literally a whole coalition of her and her crew and her team.
I'm just saying, if we could get the same type of people like we just voted in Georgia into the Senate and get more of them, or Kamala, because I thought as much heat as she got about her record as an attorney general and a prosecutor, she was very fucking left and progressive in the Senate. Very. So I think if we get because matter of fact, people was getting mad at Biden this past week because they was said he shouldn't have took her from the Senate. Folks feel he should have went outside the Senate because it seemed like the Senate is a little harder to get into than being a House of Reps, because it's like 200 House of Reps, but each state has 2 senators. Right. So
and you heard these jerks whispering about trying to impeach Kamala already, so that
well, you know, that's they see her as a threat.
Yeah,
they're already talking about impeaching you, and you're not even the president
just
yet.
let this nigga go home twice. Like, really?
How about they leak?
Because if we talk about impeaching her, then we ain't got to help fix nothing that's going on in this world. And this will be the constant circle. We're just starting up some shit that we can just like the Hillary Benghazi or just Biden's son. We're gonna start up some shit.
I mean, the thing is, there's gonna always be some opposition from them. It's gonna always be. They're always gonna try something. I wouldn't
use the word opposition. I use domination.
They're gonna always challenge something when it comes to black. I mean, just look at the Obamacare. They've been fighting that shit for 10 years. They're still trying to fight it.
And that helps them. So I mean, you made my point. Like shit. But you know if we can't get shit that helps them, we definitely get shit for us.
But you just can't expect them to concede because they're not.
That they might save their fucking life. Right. Okay.
But what you can do, you can write something into law that pretty done made it so hard for them to touch. That's what you can do. I think that's part of the reason why Biden doesn't want to get rid of student loans through executive order, because he know that shit is going to get challenged. Because it's going to get challenged. If you think about everything that black people have benefited from, every fucking law, if it goes from, I mean, they still going after the Voting Rights Act. We already know what they did with affirmative action. Whatever law that has benefited black people, it has constantly been challenges, and not one challenge. Like I said, they still going after Obamacare. That shit was passed in what, 2009, 2010, and they still going after it. The Voting Rights Act was passed in 65. They still going after it. And I find out some states still have affirmative action. So they, you know, that's kind of like 50-50, but you still got in some states they still fighting that. So they're gonna always, I mean, and we already know they see Kamala as a threat. Shit, we saw that a while now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that Lindsey Graham will come out and say about impeachment.
Bitch. Oh my gosh.
Who, Lindsey Graham?
Yes. He is such a bitch.
So to Sheila's point about the 51 representatives we have in the Black Caucus, how do we get to them to apply that pressure, like Quincy said, to utilize that, to say, look, nothing passes without 51 of y'all. Why aren't y'all getting more done? How do we execute that? How do we have that conversation? You know what I mean? Like, what do y'all think is the move to get that going? You know what I mean?
I think the move is to, like I talked about before, to create coalitions in every city. That if we have the heads of each one of those coalitions in each city to come together, you know, to have state meetings and carry our agenda across that way. But we have to come together first. I'm not even talking about money. I'm not talking about anything else, but us actually coming together and showing up and saying, hey, this is something. Because now that I know that, that's something that needs to be moved way up on the agenda. Because I really had no idea. Thank you for educating me on that. You saw I said 12 because that's how much power they've been showing. I thought it was a tiny number. I'm appalled to find out that they're
the same number as Dane. But and the thing about it, you know, just here in California, who our representatives down here, we got Maxine, we got Karen Bass, and you know, we have talked about it. Like, I love Maxine, you know, on a personal level. My grandmother worked on her campaign. She actually paid for my grandmother's funeral. But it's time for Maxine to start doing what John Lewis did.
Start training.
Start molding people to create people to come in and take her place. Because it seemed like now we just voting for her because she's Maxine. You know,
She's in her 80s now, right?
Yeah, and you know her legacy is you know being a vocal woman for Inglewood, Watts, South Central, Long Beach, all those areas in DC. But it's time for her to mold people, and that's the type of pressure we need to be trying to apply. Like, look, you need to follow what John Lewis did. John Lewis got 2 people in the Senate that he mentored. That's the same type of step, because it just seemed like when I found that out, and Roland, I'm gonna get credit because Roland Martin made me think about it, because he was saying that Nancy Pelosi need to do more black media, and he was saying how the Congressional Black Caucus need to put more pressure on her, because without their constituents, she wouldn't be Speaker of the House.
Right.
Oh, let me address it. Jim, if she has groomed people, we should have heard about them by now. Then, you know what I'm saying? Like, if she actually have groomed people to run, because the thing is, we need her to utilize her political cachet to get her replacement in before it's too late. You know, God forbid she passes away, or God forbid she gets sick. If she gets sick, passes away, and she gave nobody that political real estate that she has and that she owns, she has not put anybody in place as the heir apparent, the successor, then it's all for naught, because then that shit is going to be straight up for grabs. And then you will get somebody like a Joe Collins who can come in and actually win. You know what I mean? So I think
Ginsburg.
Yeah, so I think she needs to really start to take her successor around. She needs to start showing people this is who is next, because at 82, and again, like Quincy said, I think we all, love Maxine for what she done and what she represent. I love her vocational school. I got a few friends who got some really good jobs, and they supporting their family from going through that school. So I'm not going to shit on, you too, Ron? Yeah, so I'm not going to shit on her legacy, what she's done, but I also think it's time for her to get ready to move on and bring some youth into it. So as long as she kept that seat, if she brings youth into it and give them that political real estate, they will, be able to hold that seat a little longer as well. And it won't be that same cat and mouse game, of trying to win.
Agreed.
This is a perfect time to do it, because California is way more progressive than when she took office. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but California was a red state when Maxine became a House representative. Our governor was a damn Republican. Remember, we had Pete Wilson. So now you're looking at a state that actually voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary. I think is more time prime that we can mold a AOC or someone that's more progressive here in Maxine's district, because I think those are the type of people that we need, real people who's going to bring up real issues out there in DC.
Right, because I feel like if you continue to have, because look, after you in there for so long, I think at some point, as much as you weren't a politician when you start, you become a politician, right? Like if you're there for 50 years, you are now a politician, and so at some point you start not doing what you need to do. That's the work of the people. A lot of people just start doing what they need to do to continue to get elected. You know what I mean? Like they just start.
What I like about this new generation of Democrats that's in DC is they not friends with the other side. Like you got straight up beef going on where they yelling at each other in the hallway. It's not nothing like this is my colleague, this is my friend, because that's the generation. Joe Biden, even Maxine, they all after you've been in that motherfucker for 36 years, you become friends with people. This new generation, they not trying to be friends with folks on the right. They really not. They not trying to be cool with them at all. Who was the it was her last name is Bush, the representative from Missouri. She was yelling at Marjorie Greene.
Cori Bush.
Huh? Yeah, Cori Bush. Cori Bush. She was, I mean, they not in DC to build relationships and be friends with people. And I think that's the type of people we want and need, because that older generation, Chuck Schumer, Maxine, even Biden, Nancy, they're friends. They're friends with those folks because they didn't been around them for so long.
Yeah,
and that's why they're so irritated with this new group because this new group going in there and they really not trying to be cool with them folks. Like, I don't fuck with you on the public views, and I don't fuck with you personally. You like Trump, I don't fuck with you. And those are the type of people we need to represent us, because I think that the moderate Democrats are they somewhat starting to look like Republicans at this point. That's why Chuck Schumer, I was surprised that he said 50,000 to get along, because once you get more and more of your constituents to support that, you have no choice but to support that shit. Go look at what the shit Joe Biden was saying 20 years ago, or no, not even that long. Go see what he ran on when he ran against Obama. His election completely changed because the constituents changed, because who people start putting in office. When you got Senate members and House representatives say, "Hey, what about reparations?" and it's just not activists.
Mm-hmm.
You got to address that. That's just not something a presidential candidate can overlook, because now you got House and Senate representatives asking you, "What about reparations? What about this? What about systematic racism? What about this?" You have no choice.
Because you still have to remember, like I've brought it up repeatedly. Yeah, a lot of these Democrats with this reach across the aisle bullshit, it's not like to just get along, to go along, to get along. It's because a lot of the stuff they reaching across the aisle on is something that directly benefits them. These are still wealthy American people, whether they're black, white, or whatever. Like a lot of this junk, even with Trump, they benefited from the tax cuts and stuff that he got. So you only gonna have a person who fights so hard against something that is going to not benefit them. So that's the only way that we get around that, is to pressure them into getting, because if there's somebody that's holding them accountable, then that's the only thing that makes it different.
And also, like Quincy said too, you got to get more progressive people in there, more people who not with that old guard bullshit. I want to address Jim. I want to address Jim's comment. Why don't we run our own candidates and not depend on Maxine? I'm down with running our own candidates, Jim. I don't think that's an option that we haven't looked at. But what I'm saying is the reason we would want to depend on Maxine to bring along somebody is because of the political capital that she already holds, because of the name value that she already has. Because yes, we could probably run somebody ourselves and probably win. But if Maxine endorses the person that's taking her seat, I guarantee you that'll make the transition smoother.
That's true.
If she comes out with somebody that's more progressive.
Yeah, I mean, important that is Ossoff. You had a white Jewish dude win in Georgia. That had a lot to do with him being mentored by John Lewis.
Yeah,
he's not. If he doesn't come from under John Lewis, he probably don't win.
I think the problem we have running people we want is going to be social media. The things people have said that are going to be used against them, when they try to take office, I think will be huge. So when you say groom somebody, I think the grooming starts prior to them getting on social media. Because nowadays, as you know, the history that will follow a person on social media. So you kind of need to know that that's what I want to do before you start, because I think there's quite a few qualified people who, but
I said that before Trump.
That's what I was just about to say.
I'm only speaking for black people. I'm only speaking for black people. White people, right. No. I'm speaking just for black people, though. So white people, yes, they can say and do whatever they want and run.
With black, I think even with black people, the goalposts have moved on the shit you can get away with.
Yeah,
I think so. As a politician, I think the goalpost has moved for everybody on the shit you can get away with as a politician.
I tell you what,
I don't want to see.
I tell you what, shit, they went after Warnock for some shit.
And look at the comments AOC has made. Like,
but see, when your constituents are consistent and backing you and voting you, you get away with that shit. Like
he's a preacher though. QQ, he's a preacher.
Wait a minute.
And not just a preacher, the person that is leading Martin Luther King's church.
Okay, let's take
he's a special person in that state.
No, then let's take Ilhan Omar.
Okay.
Let's take Ilhan Omar, who came under fire. She talked just like Ice Cube when it comes to Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. What state is she in though, Dan?
Minnesota.
Exactly. So I'm just saying, Minnesota is not the South. Minnesota's not, you know.
Who cares though? But the point
Minnesota
is
has a
that
lot of
it's
Africans
not,
there.
Minnesota
has
not
a
as
large, huge
uptight as
population.
they used to be.
Right.
That's the point.
And Muslims.
But no, you're moving the goalposts on the point. The point
Well,
was,
no, what you were saying is Trump. You said, well, let's just use the Trump analogy.
Yeah,
3
I'm saying
wives,
Trump,
cheats, lies, does all that.
No,
I'm
not talking about cheats. I'm saying the things that I think you worry about from black people, because the things you worry about from black people ain't gonna be the same things you worry about from Trump. So let's just, let's use clear context, right? Sure. The things you worry about would be some of the wild posts people say, some of the shit that could come off as problematic. That's
Tommy
the thing.
Town, kill the white people. I mean, there's any shit like that. Yeah,
shit like that you would worry about. But I don't think now, post Trump and post some of these other people, that it would affect them as much. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like,
I think the whole.
This. I mean, like I said, look at AOC, look at Ilhan Omar, look at even Ayanna Pressley, Cori Bush, like all of them. They are not the usual squeaky clean candidates, and they're all black, and they were able to do it. And I think even now, more so after insurrection, you know what I mean? I think black people are more educated on voting, and we care about the process more. Think about it, Ron. If more Rons are voting, do you give a fuck about a wild Quincy post on social media? Is that going to stop your vote?
Right, if he was running for sheriff.
For me, no. But that wouldn't.
For most of us.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, Ron. Do you see what I'm saying though? But I'm saying for our generation,
there are less Rons though than everybody else. Is my point. So
they're
far less Rons. So that are as accepting of things like that. More is going to be like more religious. You're dealing more with the religious people.
No, I think more of our generation.
But you have to remember the religious people are dying off. Like a lot of those younger people are fleeing from the church. You don't have the same kind of numbers with the religious people that you used to have.
Yeah, like the church caucuses.
Out of voters, you do.
No, out of voters, you don't. I think the church caucus, because remember, you used to have to go to black churches to win, and that's not the case no more. Like you used to have to show up at every black church to have a shot, and that's not.
You showed up at Mom's barbecue now. You go to Mom's barbecue, some hot sauce, and you in there.
Warnock was arrested because he interfered in a child abuse case.
Now, was that legit, or was he doing what was right?
Well,
sounds like he was doing what was right.
He was doing what was right, but his opponent posed it as if he was doing something shady, and he overcame that in Georgia.
Right, I'm just saying he's a preacher. He was doing what was right.
I'm saying the reason why he overcame that is because his black constituents didn't give a fuck about that and voted him through anyway.
That's the difference.
Unfortunately, there's only one Georgia where you're 50% of the population.
But I see the way Georgia wasn't always Georgia though, Ron. Georgia just
we know. You're right. And demographics are going to change.
Yeah, but some places already have the demographics of Georgia. That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's a reason. Let's keep it 100.
They do. They just don't have the finances. Like they got it, but they just don't have this. I mean, Georgia was perfect.
There's a reason why they won't make DC a state.
Right, because they know what happened. We got two more senators. We got two two House of Representatives. Right.
That's why they don't want to do it.
Yeah, because DC is number 2 behind the Virgin Islands as far as black population. The Virgin Islands is 76%, which I didn't know there's that many black people on the Virgin Islands. And DC,
nowhere to go.
And DC is 47%. So that's why they won't make DC a state.
Mm-hmm.
Because DC
and none of this bothers us. Like these are like specific things that this is strategic, specific things that are in place in law to make sure that we keep the power.
But that can actually be changed,
right?
Except you got a motherfucker who won't get rid of the filibuster, and you need him in a 50-50 vote.
So it's like we have the answer to everything, but then there's this. Like we got it.
We still have another election coming in 2 years, Ron, where we don't have to be in the same situation if we play this strategic.
There's 20 Republican Senate seats up next year. 20.
If we hustle, we can get them.
And we need what, 17? So that so there's just like no, we need 17. There's no question.
Hey, you know what? I think if black folks get 4 of those, and I'm saying us, we get 4 of those seats. I mean, because we already see how 1 or 2 people could hold some shit up. You get 4 of those seats. I think. Well, we got to make sure it's the right people, because as you can see in the House, when you got 51 fucking members not pulling their leverage, you need to get 4 people who's gonna pull their leverage.
Right.
Because in order to make DC a state, you got to get rid of the filibuster, because Republicans are not going to vote for obvious reasons. They never going to vote that shit in. But because you remember, that was one of Republicans' biggest worries. They was like, oh, they don't get rid of the filibuster. They gonna pack the court. They gonna do this shit. And then Joe Manchin brought his ass out and said, I'm not voting to get rid of the filibuster. And Mitch McConnell just shut up.
It's like, yeah, he was like, okay, we can do the power share now. Go ahead.
No more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said, people continue to put pressure in West Virginia. Kamala and Biden keep on to put pressure on them. But I think that if you get, I know Charles Blow said take over like 7 southern states. I don't really think we need like 2 to 3, even 4 would be nice. That's 6 Senate seats. You get 3. That's 6 Senate seats. That's leverage. That means nothing can get passed without those 6 people. Just like
I just can't wait for that day, so then I can hear the excuses on why shit don't get passed. Like I'm just waiting for that day, because it's gonna be something.
Like Sheila said, we need to find out what's the deal with those 51 congressional black caucus members and see why they're not pulling their leverage, because can't nothing get passed without them. Nothing. The Democrats have a 4-seat advantage in the House. So if 5 of that 51 say we're not doing this shit, it can't get done.
Yeah.
We don't have the fortitude to do that.
Well,
I hope we do. But look. Yeah. But like, that was a great discussion. And we're gonna keep at it. We're gonna keep, talking. Like you said, we all here trying to find solutions. We all here trying to figure out what's the best way to go about things. And some of us think our mission is to go about it through legislation, and some of us think our mission is to go about it by, stacking our bread and using capital. And I think we need both. I think we need both sides. So before we get out of here, there's a conversation that came up. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl, and of course, with the 7th Super Bowl came GOAT talk of football, and then it turned to a bigger conversation of GOAT talk of all sports. It's time to GOAT of all sports, and they would love nothing more than to make his ass the poster boy for all sports. And listen, I had to say, I think it could be Serena Williams, and I've had a lot of pushback on that. Listen, well, let's talk about what our criteria for GOAT is, right? My criteria for GOAT would be championships, individual accolades, and the span of time of your dominance. And I think Serena has been tip top of all of those for a very long time. And I don't see anybody except maybe Simone Biles. And I say Simone Biles hasn't topped Serena to me just because of the amount of longevity. But Tiger Woods is close, but I feel like Serena's run has been longer than Tiger's.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying he's the one that's close to me.
Yeah, he's close. He's close.
Yeah.
Jim said Usain Bolt should be in the conversation. I think Usain Bolt.
I said that too earlier.
Yeah. But so Brandon Red has some good oppositions to Usain Bolt, which I just want to pose to everybody that's watching. So just to give you all the information, but he was saying he think Usain Bolt is a great athlete, but he doesn't have the same dominant span of Serena. And he said he feels like, not to say that track isn't hard. He said, but track is a natural body movement for people running. He was like, he said he feels like other sports like tennis and football and basketball. He said he feels like they use a lot more hand-eye coordination and learned skill. So he said that's why it's hard for him to have Usain Bolt in the conversation for him. And that was just, argument that I hadn't heard. And I thought it was an interesting argument, right? Isaac said the gymnastics lifespan is short, which is true. But like I said, Simone Biles is so cold, they are changing the rules.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, her shit is so cold, they are changing the rules for her, which
they did for Serena too.
Oh, absolutely.
Can't grunt. Well, they let the old guard do it, but the new guard can't even grunt.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me it's Serena and it's Tiger. Just based on impact. Both of those people came into a sport that they truly weren't even meant to dominate. And to see what they did in those sports, dominating marketing, dominating winning, dominating long tenures. And then on top of that, providing something, a new outlet for young Black children to look up to. I can do this, because it used to be, before those two, it was baseball. I mean, it was baseball, football, and basketball. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, and now we got people involved in golf, tennis, gymnastics.
It's like, as you said, Osaka won the second set versus she won the second set in Australia Open versus Serena, but Osaka is like a product, like you said, she's a product of Serena. But Isaac says Simone Biles, the most decorated gymnast ever, 30 medals with 23 go. So I think hands down she is the GOAT of gymnastics, and she might even be the GOAT of Olympics. You know what I mean? Like, Simone might be, but pure athlete.
What's
like
the swimmer? The swimmer might have
Michael
a question
Phelps.
about
Yeah,
Michael Phelps.
She passed Phelps.
She has more golds.
Yeah, she passed
in the
Phelps.
Olympics.
I think so. Let me check.
Yeah, I don't know. Hold on, I have to check that too. But no, I mean, I don't take anything from her. She's awesome. She's, that was me. That's who I could think of. Serena.
Phelps has.
I thought he had like 10 golds, if I wasn't mistaken.
Let's see.
Anyway, that's what we let our crew in the comments check that out. They'll figure that out for us.
Yeah. But like I said, so I think the longevity that Serena has had and her dominance in her sport for so long is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They are changing the rules for Simone. They are changing the rules so more Black women don't get in and dominate. I agree with that, Jim. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, Michael has 23 gold medals.
Okay, so he tied with Simone. Jackie Joyner Kersee was bad. I just think, how many medals did she have?
I don't know, but she had it in multiple events. Remember,
she was multiple events.
She did multiple events.
I just want that young lady to get all the recognition she deserves. I agree. Like I said, I think Simone is incredible. So I'm not trying to take nothing away from her, and she might even end up, in my eyes, surpassing Serena at some point. But I'm saying, if I'm looking right now, and the reason I say Serena over Jordan, Serena over LeBron, Serena over Tom Brady, Serena over who else they consider to go to, Wayne Gretzky even, Serena over, to me, the reason I say Serena over them is because all of her dominance for how long, and even when she dominated in doubles, when it was her and her sisters, she just been dominant. Like, how long she been dominant for? Like about 20 years. Like, Serena been dominant for about 20 years now.
Yeah.
I just my only issue. I just have a issue comparing individual sports to team sports. Because I think, like, with a team sport, you gotta be a leader. You gotta elevate players. It's more things that you have to do to win doing a team sport. Your leadership come into play and all that stuff. So if you just want to talk about just pure accomplishments, then I will go. Of course, you got to go with Serena, because I remember, because the thing with individual sports, one thing you can do, you could like compare errors more. I think it's a little harder for us to compare. You know, shit. It's getting to a point where I think it's hard to compare even LeBron to Jordan in Magic because those errors were so different. Where when you look at tennis, you could go look at Steffi Graf, you could go look at Martina Navratilova, you could go look at I can't think about the blonde. Damn, can't think of her name.
Kim Everett or Everett?
Yeah, Chris Everett.
Chris Everett, yeah.
Yeah, Chris Everett. And you can look at the game and you can compare it to today's game and tell who is more.
Only thing changed is the racket balls and the tennis shoes. The rackets and the tennis shoes. Yeah.
Because a lot of them shit at 32 was done.
Yeah.
You know, so you can actually compare, you know, golf and, you know, that type of stuff because they pretty much, when they go play the Masters, they pretty much playing the same course and shit. Like, I think it's a little different with individual sports than it is team sports. You know, of course, team sports get more of the biased opinion when it comes to picking the GOATs. But I think if you just want to compare, what you can compare is who dominated their sport and got accomplished more through, you know, and longevity wise, then you got to go with Serena because here she is, how old is she? 40, 39? 40 years old, which that was unheard of in the 80s for, you know, a female tennis player at that to even play past 30, 31. I remember watching Martina Navratilova when she was like 30. Shit, they was talking like she was like 50.
Right. She looked 50.
Yeah. But you know, they was talking like she was ancient on that month. So, you know, when I just look, I remember my son asked me, he's like, Dad, who you think is the GOAT? And it just so happened because they live way out there in Menifee, and we was passing a farm. And I said, look, you see more than one GOAT, right? I said, so that's how I look at sports. I said, there's more than one GOAT. You can have your preference. But if I had to choose one of who's been the most dominant over a long period of time and accomplished the most, I don't see how you not go with Serena. I mean, her career, I remember watching her on Channel 9, her and Venus, and their dad was in a tennis court in Compton, you know, not too far from where we at right now. And so when you think about her career started when she was 16, 17 years old. Yeah. And here she is now at 40 and still playing at a crazy pace. I think she got another 5 years if she wanted to, you know.
Right.
That's what it is for me too, as well, Quincy. Because she came in at, like you said, like 17 years old, and it's not like when she came in, it took her like 5 years to be dominant. She came in, her and her sister, like literally the pops was like, I'm gonna let Venus get hers off. Because once I let Serena go,
it's over. It's a wrap.
Remember when Venus, people don't remember when Venus dropped. Venus was hard when Venus dropped it. We didn't know about Serena yet. Nobody was fucking with Venus. And then he was like, no, I'm gonna hold Serena. He said, because y'all think Venus is some shit. Watch when I let this go. Watch when I let the young one go. And from the moment she hit, she's been at least, I think she's been top 5 in the rankings from when she came out till now, and only dropped out when she was pregnant, if I'm not mistaken. Like only dropped out when she, you know what I mean? So
I mean, you gotta add, we gotta add that element to it too.
I mean, how many of these athletes have babies?
Have babies and then return dominant
and dominate.
Like that's the crazy shit about it. Like,
niggas be having hangnails and retire.
We have seen female WNBA players have babies, and they didn't really quite come back the same.
Right.
And she actually had a baby and then came back fucking just as dominant. So like I said, I don't see if we talking about who dominated their sport over the longest period of time and accomplished the most, I don't see how you not go with Serena. Yeah,
Now,
because
can we add? Can we add? You know what? Also, I think it is though, gentlemen. I think it has to do with the fact some people just don't respect tennis. And I'll just pose to some people. If
until you
you've
get
never
out there on
played
that court.
tennis, if you've never played tennis and you don't really, and you think it's something to be played with, just go out there at your local court and go play with one of these 60-year-olds, and then tell me what tennis is about.
Hold up, because a lot of them ain't taking 120 miles serve from Serena.
Yeah, that's the point. Like, it's the shit that she's doing, and tennis is just it's a physical sport. Now, I have a buddy who doesn't call golf sport, so he doesn't put Tiger in the ranks of the greats all the time, because he said that's a hobby. Playing golf, anything you can do, drink beer while you're playing, is a hobby.
It's a skill. It's a skill.
No, I get that, but that was more of a joke. But to me, tennis is a real deal sport.
Oh, no. When you by yourself, play a couple of matches. Your ass will be worn out.
Man. Yeah.
Like it,
and just to run and hustle to hit the ball, and then have the concentration and skill set to hit that shit back in, because I can catch up to a ball and I can hit it back to you, but I don't know where that motherfucker going.
Right.
It might go over the gate. Like I'll run it down and I hit it. I just can't tell you what I mean. I was one of those people. I used to say golf wasn't a sport until you go out there and, like Dan said, you got concentration, and then when your body doing the same motion and movement over a time period, that shit start to hurt, and you got to play through it. Because I used to laugh at Tiger when he was talking about his weight training. Like, nigga, what you doing? Like, my dude John Daly was just over there.
He twisting.
Yeah, my dude John Daly over there with a whole beer, drunk. Nigga, almost run the Masters. But no, like I stopped. Even NASCAR, I stopped shitting on that, because once I realized, like, you doing that many damn laps, that shit takes a toll on you after a while. But
holding that car, shit.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's really hard. I mean, for somebody to do what Serena did, that would be equivalent of shit. I don't know, somebody coming in the NBA as a high school student and right off the bat dominating and like winning 10 championships or some shit. How many? What
could have been Kobe had Shaq not tripped?
Of course.
Hey, let me ask you: do y'all think y'all will ever see another run like Serena's?
Not in my lifetime.
Not in tennis.
Not in tennis.
No, not in tennis.
Like, dude,
or Tiger. Not Tiger in golf either. It's just
to like it's to having a baby and coming back dominant. Because see, even if another woman did what she did, if she didn't have no kids, I can't even compare it. 'Cause I need her to have kids and then come back and be just as dominant she was before she had kids, before I could compare her to Serena.
And she was trained by her father in Compton on concrete. She didn't start out with the best trainers like everybody else.
You know who you better watch out for, right? Yeah. Her daughter. Did you see her daughter playing?
Oh, and then a little thing on her pole. Yeah, she's gonna be a beast. Yeah, she's gonna be a beast.
Is already got a fucking start.
Right, a low record. Yeah.
Like it's crazy, but I'm just glad that and it got to be up to us, that especially Black women, because I know Serena heard people calling her a man and all this shit. I'm like, just get your bars up and stop getting your ass whooped and trying to accuse her. You remember somebody tried to insinuate, I forgot which one, tried to insinuate she was on steroids and all type of shit.
Like, no, that's all her. That's all her.
Yeah,
That's hard work and effort.
Just get your bars up and stop getting your ass whipped. Stop trying to.
Yeah. They really tried to.
Because I think have Venus retired?
Well, Venus
yeah.
had she got an autoimmune disease. So I don't know if she retired, but I know she severely cut down on the amount of games because she's been in a lot of pain. Jim, are you saying that Serena was like the LeBron James of tennis? Like she had that weight, speed, and height that would just made her crazy?
I say Shaq.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say the Shaq, just like with that type of athleticism and footwork and skill at that size.
At that size, yeah. You want to build a female tennis player in a lab, she is like
she's
perfect.
It.
She's like perfect.
And for me, and then on top of that, she's beautiful. So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what other people say about her being manly and all that. I don't see none of that. I see like a Greek goddess.
I have seen people say, well, black dudes wasn't on Serena. Like, man, when she had that cat outfit on, niggas that shit went viral because niggas was on it.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, you talking about the outfit? That means y'all still talking about Serena.
Yeah.
It wasn't FloJo outfit, but it was there. That's who had the best outfits was FloJo.
Yeah, but Serena got more thickness than FloJo had.
Oh yeah.
She's a family friend. FloJo, man, FloJo was before her time. Because I think FloJo, with that fashion statement that she was putting on back then, will be a lot more popular than what she is now.
Oh,
she had the nails and everything. She had all of it.
The hair on bump.
They hate on it.
And was burning them.
FloJo would be like a marketing, like dream right now because if she was fine. Like FloJo would have been the shit right now. I don't think they was ready for FloJo back then. Her record still holds. Yep. Her 1988 record still holding.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all ever go back and look at that track meet. She was fucking smoking.
Man.
I wanted to talk to Sheila about this because we kind of talked about it before we came on the air, but we were talking about the parents of Tiger Woods, the parents of Venus.
Breaking news.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Serena lost.
Yeah, to Osaka.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, it's not sad to me because Osaka to me is the next step, right? And she's a dope kid. Osaka's a dope kid. I like her a lot, and she comes from the tree of Serena. So and again, she's 39 and losing in the damn finals. That shit is insane.
Just the fact that she made it. That's true.
Yeah, she's 39.
I wanted to see her win. That's my girl.
Of course. So we were talking about the parents of Serena and Venus and the parents of Tiger Woods, and even you could throw Lonzo Ball's dad. You could throw You could throw Lonzo Ball dad in there, and Sheila was talking about the kind of determination and the kind of drive and push you have to behind your kids. And she said, "Is it worth it? Is it is it worth it, or is?" And we were talking about the difference between maybe a Joe Jackson and what we seen with Venus, and I don't know much about Tiger because Tiger dad didn't talk much, so I don't know much about how much of a tyrant his dad was. But I feel like, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I felt like I saw something a little different with Mr. Williams and the girls, because I felt like there was a love behind it that you probably didn't see with Joe Jackson. And I'm not saying that Joe Jackson didn't love his kids. I'm just saying like Joe Jackson, his approach was totally different than Mr. Williams' approach with his girls. And it takes me back to that comment where the white lady was trying to shake Venus and Serena confidence in that interview, and he stopped the interview like, look, don't keep trying to, she told you she feel like this and she let it go, leave her alone. So it's also like the push that he gave them, helped him push them to that greatness. And of course, it helped push them to that greatness, but also, do you think the trade-off is worth it?
I think
if you
that
succeed.
it depends on the person because it's all relative. Sometimes it seems like the trade-off is worth it because they become the best, but then it's like you become the best at what cost? Because even if you look at the mother of the Clark sisters, she pressed like the work ethic that people develop come from usually those kind of parents who instill that in them. But you have a whole bunch of them who couldn't even really have a personal life or do anything because it was pounded into them that, hey, you have to stay on this and it's got to be this and nothing else. And I think that that comes down to this person may be producing something phenomenal that the world enjoys, but if they don't have quality of life and some kind of balance in their own life, what does that really mean for them? So it's kind of a very difficult balance. So, like you were talking about with Joe Jackson, you had abuse mixed in to the work ethic. So that's where he went way over the line and why his kid was so messed up. You know what I mean? None of the rest of them have bleached and rearranged their face and did all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well,
But
yeah,
go ahead.
that's what I say. That's what I think. What I saw, because I can only go off of what I saw, because I don't know what happened in else. But that's why I say I feel like what I saw was a little different from Mr. Williams. Like I said, I don't know much about
Right.
Tiger's dad, but I do feel like Tiger came from a loving home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but I've heard him talk about it where his dad was a very strict disciplinarian and very tough on
Military.
him. Once he saw the talent there, he was on him. And he got more of the nurturing from his mom, which is usually kind of, how
The
that
balance.
balances
How
out.
it is.
balance in it.
Yeah.
I agree. I look, Joe. Well, they all kind of somewhat came from that era because you remember Earl was a little older when he had Tiger. You
Right.
know, so I'm sure it was kind of more of like a grandparent type of feel more than an actual parent. Because I want to say Earl was like 50.
Right when he had him.
Was he that old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was old when he had Tiger.
I
They
So-
said he was a womanizer too, just like Tiger. So everything
Yeah.
Tiger became is who he was.
So
Hey, that's his business. Huh?
I mean that's I think a lot of that era, that's what they know. That tough love, ass whooping for everybody type of
But that was nice because their parents used to beat the hell out of them. So they like shit. If I just yell at you, it's okay.
Yeah, I think LeVar is a little different. I don't. Although he did talk about that time, Lonzo didn't stop for the police and drove all the way home with a semi high speed chase. He whooped his ass when he was like 16. But I think you need your ass whooped.
Yeah.
You do some shit like that.
But that's not. I think that's different than beating his ass for missing a 3-point shot, which I don't think LeVar was doing. But that's the type of shit Joe was doing. You missed a tune,
Step.
or like you was getting your ass beat. I think that's a little different.
Yes.
So but one thing they all had in common though, they instilled mad confidence in their kids. Like
Kind of, not Joe.
no, Joe. I mean,
Joe talks about Michael's looks. That's the reason he got into all the surgery. Joe used to talk, his own daddy used to talk about his nose. You know what it's like to get roasted by your dad?
Also instilled that you the baddest motherfucker on the stage.
No,
And Mike carried that attitude. Like he had Mike very confident as far as performing wise.
as far as performing, but he attacked his looks.
But I'm talking about as far as
his self-conscious is bad.
we talking about as far as they art wise as or whatever they do, they had mad confidence. It was never a sense of doubt that MJ had a lot of people think Off the Wall was his first album. That was like his fourth. They had a couple albums that they did. And we already know the confidence LeVar has instilled in his kids, and I think that's the one thing they set them up for. Look, when that world come after you, you still got to do what you have to do. No matter what those people say about you.
Right?
well, it's been a great show. We lost Chan.
No DM. Oh,
Huh?
Which parent got the got the greatest legacy.
Ooh. I'm gonna say
parents are the greatest legacy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say out of all of the parents, out of Tiger, out of who we talking about, Tiger, LeVar, and
Richard Williams.
I'm going with Richard Williams because he had
Richard Williams
that were top, like two that were top of the pops for years. That's hard to do.
I'm gonna go with Joe.
Mm.
But not only I put out Bobby the greatest male performer of all time, I also gave y'all the greatest female performer of all time, possibly. And then when they come together, now I gave you one of the most historical groups ever
of all time.
So
yeah,
I gotta go now. Joe, you still Rebe with Centipede? Rebe with Centipede.
She just sat down after that though. She was like,
nah. We even got Rebe a hit.
Yeah.
He got that off.
It was a hit while it was out. You can't while it was out.
He even got Rebe a hit.
Look, y'all all gonna eat.
Centipede wasn't. He did get Rebe a hit.
He had Rebe a hit. He had Janet on Good Times back then.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta go.
Getting abused by Kim Fields' mama.
Like that's shit. She probably wasn't even acting.
Yeah.
No, that was Kim Fields' mama though. That was abusing her.
I'm talking about Janet. Was she probably
she still ain't acting. She ain't never been a good
showed up. She showed up, and they like.
Well, she did pretty good on Different Strokes.
Not really. She's a terrible actress. She's just cute. She's just adorable. She's a terrible actress. She was like Tyler Perry level movie actress.
Yeah, but
she was in a Tyler Perry movie.
I gotta give a look of Tyler Perry movie actress, but. Hey man, I want to thank everybody for rocking with us. That was a great show, great conversations, great discussions. I want to thank everybody who joined us in the comments, man. Shout out to all of y'all who talked, because look, this show don't work without y'all. So we need y'all in the comments talking to us, because y'all help keep us going. Y'all help keep the show going. Some really good points, some really good conversations, and maybe possibly some really good solutions, because I've learned some shit tonight I didn't know. I've been educated on the 51 motherfuckers in the Black Caucus. You know what I mean? So that's the reason we do the show. Even I learned some shit tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, we just want to try to learn the system, try to figure out how to rig the system for ourselves. If not, and on the other end of that, we want to get money. And speaking of getting money, before we get out of here, Ron, give us 2 cryptos to look out for before we go.
Let me see. Can you hear me? I'm waiting for this shit to cut off. This week, I think I got to it last week late, but the graph, if you're familiar with Google and how Google came about and what it does for the internet, the graph will do the same thing for the cryptocurrency. It basically goes out and searches for information to provide information back to different blockchains. So the graph GRT is the symbol. So when you search GRC, you'll see the graph. It's at about $2 right now. Last week when I mentioned, I think it was at $1.30. So it's gone up, I say that's close to about 45%. But that, and then another one that we're just learning about is called POL is the symbol, but it's Polka Starter. POLKA Starter. Look that one up. That's going to be Polkadot's second version of their system. So when you look that up right now, it's trading at about 6 cents. I would say if you can afford it, go ahead and get about 1,000 of them and sit on them for about a year. If that 6 cents turns into $6, you got your nice savings right there. So those are the 2 right now, and then we'll touch on a few more next week. But for right now, I want to keep you guys at something that's affordable for everybody. So $2 for the graph, GRT, and Polka Starter, which is POL, is another one that you want to look out for. I think it's trading at about 6 cents right now. So jump in, people.
I'm gonna go grab some of those. Thanks, Ron. Thanks, Ron, for hitting us with that
Thank
crypto
you,
minute.
Yeah.
Welcome to crypto with Ron.
Yes, sir.
Wilson.
Hey,
hey, man.
let's
Cookie
get this
Lady,
money.
thank you for joining us. I know you rebranding, but we're gonna talk about that later. But I know you're working on some things. We're very excited about the things that the Cookie Lady is doing, and the Cookie Lady has got going. Hey, man, I'm so grateful for everybody who watched the show. We don't take you guys for granted at all, and we take what we do very seriously. So I want to thank you, everybody who joins us and who believes in us and who shares it, who rocks with us, and make sure y'all share, spread the word, let people know. Come watch us on Coof Radio. Until next time, we will see you guys. We are out of here.